This happened on August 11, 2011, in the city of San Jose, Rio Verde, and it made all of its residents believe in the paranormal. You can check this for yourself. All the townspeople lined up near the man's house to see his discovery. This man was just standing by a tree when suddenly something strange fell onto his shoulder. I sincerely hope you are not watching this video at night. In fact, the story of Jose is just as sad as it is amazing. Yes, his name was Jose, the same as his city. He was an ordinary man from a provincial town, and his life was just like everyone else's there. He worked as a builder and lived a not very proper lifestyle. But at some point, everything in his life changed. That day, as usual, he finished his shift at the construction site, came home, and drank some alcohol. The next morning, when he had a terrible hangover, he went outside and walked under a tree. And at some moment, from that tree, this thing fell onto his shoulder. At first, he thought it was just an insect, and he was about to throw it away. But then he suddenly realized it looked like a fairy. His wife thought he had simply gotten drunk again and refused even to look, but somehow he managed to convince her. Here is what she said, and I quote, "If this is just a toy, then why is it moving? You can clearly see the outline of the body, even the nipples. I know how this sounds." At first, I reacted just like his wife. But at some point, I thought maybe this town should actually open a museum of fairies. Unfortunately, there is also a sad part of this story. After all of this happened, Jose basked in fame, until suddenly his followers on Facebook noticed a strange video. According to Jose, it was his younger brother Enrique. But look closely at the video. Do you not notice anything strange? According to Jose, this was a thief who tried to steal their discovery. But look again, if he was a thief, then where did he disappear to? And what is wrong with his face? And why did he vanish behind the cabinet as if into thin air? Many of his followers decided it was fake, that Jose and his brother had staged the scene to attract an audience. But in the end, that does not even matter, because sometime later, Jose was found dead. Nobody knows exactly why, and many rumors spread through the town. Some people say that they heard Jose was planning to eat the creature to gain its powers. Others say that he sold his discovery, and with it, he sold his own health. Personally, I would love to believe that fairies exist and all that, but honestly, I find the second version more believable. Because according to his wife, Jose had psychological health problems since childhood. It is a shame, because this story could have ended very differently if he had sought help from specialists. Recently, one of the girls went missing on the eve of a student party. I will say this right away, she was found. But believe me, the state she was found in is something you will not like. If you are eating right now, and you probably are, stop. It all began when 3 girlfriends went out to party at a student event. They put on their best dresses, fixed themselves up. Before that, they had agreed to meet with one of their old school friends. They arrived at the party, went over to a table, and waited for him. He came, they started talking, and at some moment, he told them about a strange man he had just seen 5 minutes ago in the hallway. Probably some guard or janitor, but according to this guy, the man looked like he had eaten 3 elephants before showing up. The guy was huge, of course. They laughed, joked that maybe he was a maniac, and then everyone went their separate ways. The girls wanted the party to continue, and here is the important detail. At the school party, there was a huge table full of food and burgers. They grabbed 3 burgers with them and went off into the forest to walk around, drink some more, and have fun. They wanted adventure. In the forest, they were having a great time, laughing, dancing, drinking more. Everything seemed fine, until the next morning, when they could not find their third friend, Scarlet Swung. The city was only about an hour's walk away, so they assumed maybe she just walked home by herself. But in the evening, when her mother called the other 2 girls to ask where her daughter was, they all realized something was seriously wrong. Scarlet was not at school, and she did not answer her phone, even though the line was still ringing. They immediately went to the police, who declared her missing. The search went on unsuccessfully. For 2 days, they combed the entire forest, every spot where Scarlet had last been seen, and then, finally, they inspected the car the girls had been in that night. On the bumper of the car, they noticed strange smudges, as if someone had dragged a dirty hand across it. Police immediately collected samples of the dirt and sent them for analysis. What they found inside shocked everyone. The DNA of a certain Joe Martini, and when I saw how this man looked, I was completely horrified. Soon after, the police found Joe Martini himself. Inside his house, they discovered 3 dead bodies. All of them were female, and all of them were in horrific condition. 2 of them were literally dismembered. And yes, among those bodies was Scarlet, or rather, what was left of her. Everything had been packed into his refrigerator and pots. To make it clear, Joe was not just a killer, but literally a cannibal. And here is what he confessed to in court. He not only killed his victims, but also ate them. And here was the disturbing detail. He wanted others to eat them as well. That was why he had gotten a job as a cook at the school, where he made burgers out of human flesh. And I really hope that those were not the very same 3 burgers the girls had taken with them that night. Imagine the irony. Apparently, this was the same huge man their friend had mentioned seeing at the party. Later, 2 young men just wanted a bit of adrenaline, so they went exploring an abandoned building. Judging by the rooms, they realized it was an old psychiatric hospital.
What the?
This was in 2014, in China. From one of the high-security prisons, a maniac named Chen Jian escaped. At first glance, it seemed like a normal situation. But the strange thing was how he managed to escape. The staff said it was as if he had simply vanished from his cell. There were no signs of a break-in, and the surveillance footage showed nothing. It was as if he had never been there at all. But there was one strange detail. One of the guards said that during the last prison check, he heard strange whispering from Chen Jian's cell, as if the man was talking to himself. It did not matter what he was whispering, because exactly 1 day later, he escaped. A week after the escape, the townspeople began to forget about it. Until suddenly, something strange happened that seemed more than coincidence. I am talking about the case with the 2 young men in the psychiatric hospital.
What the?
The whole situation looked so similar to his escape that people believed it must have been him. And if you look closely at the chair in the room in their footage, maybe it was just a camera glare. But why then were they so terrified? They went into the room and found no one there. They were convinced it was no coincidence, and even wrote on their Twitter that they had seen the escaped maniac. Maybe they did it just for popularity, but unfortunately, some careless parents did not take precautions. This was about 3 days later. Their daughters were only around 12 years old, and for some reason, they were out playing at the playground very late at night. One of the girls was recording everything on video. Later, when they came home and gathered with friends, they decided to watch the footage again. Now look closely at the lower part of that video.
天才だからね。
こっちでしょ。
無理だよ。そっち？
無理だ。
大きかったね。
If you think this is just a coincidence, it is not. When the parents showed the video to the police, the footage was analyzed using eye recognition technology, and the analysis showed a 95% match with Chen Jian. In other words, it was most likely really him. Why he did not attack the girls at night is completely unclear. What stopped him from doing so remains a mystery. But one thing is clear. The parents clearly had problems with responsibility. If something terrible had happened, they would have blamed the police for not catching him in time, instead of blaming themselves. This man's name is Ronald Popo. He lost his eyes, his nose, his nav, and basically 80% of his face.
He chewed at my face. He plucked out my eyes.
Witnesses believe he was attacked by a real zombie. They were shocked by what they saw. This was in 2012, in Miami. When police arrived, they could not believe their eyes. Soon, they managed to identify the attacker. It was an ordinary young man named Rudy Eugene. His mother said he had always been a normal teenager, and she had never noticed anything strange about him. Neighbors also said he was always a good kid. But one day, it was as if he had been replaced. He suddenly went into a frenzy. Nobody could understand what was happening to him. He ran through the streets and attacked anyone who came his way. His first victim was Ronald Popo. Security cameras in the area recorded the horrifying attack. Although the poor quality made details hard to see, it was clear from the reaction of one police officer who saw it firsthand. According to his testimony, he saw an elderly man lying on the ground, covered in blood and pieces of his face. On top of him sat the attacker, literally chewing his face off. The officer recoiled in shock like a frightened child. And here is the strangest part of the story. When two more officers came to help, even the three of them together could not restrain Rudy Eugene. They reported that he had a natural strength, unlike anything they had seen before. The officers had to shoot him 3 times with a stun gun, but he still remained conscious. When they finally managed to detain him and bring him to the station, they took a blood test. And here is the most interesting part. He was not a zombie. He was something even scarier. The police said he had been on bath salts. Under the influence of this substance, the human body goes into an extreme state. Adrenaline floods the system in huge amounts. All the organs work at maximum, and the person feels like they are literally burning from the inside. That also explains why he was completely naked. Apparently, a new drug had appeared in the city, one that researchers said was unlike anything they had seen before. As for the victim, Ronald Popo, he was taken to the hospital. There was basically nothing left of his face. Surgeons tried to reconstruct it, and from the few pieces that remained, they literally molded what they could. This news spread through all the media, and the attacker, Rudy Eugene, was dubbed the Miami Zombie. A year later, Ronald Popo managed to return to life, if you can call it that. It is hard to say normal life, but he still copes with what happened. And even after all of this, he plays the guitar.
Of people in the community, I will always be grateful for that.